Well, thank you. Thank you very, very much. And what an honor it is to be here. So to begin with, then, the concept that the world is changing. Well, many people say, well, it has always been changing. Yes, that is true. But if we start looking at it from the point of view of the speed of the change, then that is what is becoming so, I guess, all-consuming for us now. When I was born, there was just a little over 2 billion. We're now over 6 billion. Great concern in the planet, but we think we see an end to it. We think we should top out somewhere, hopefully around 10 billion. The end is in sight because of education. We have found that probably the very best way of trying to bring down population is by educating, particularly women. Standard of living begins to rise in the world. We can see the tremendous pressure that is being put upon on the environment. So this one, we don't see an end to it. In fact, if you think about the trends that are going on, you can see that there is a coming together of oil, water, clean air, many of the things in the world. Now, economists will sometimes look at this and say it's okay because what happens when the arrows start to come together? And you say, well, the price goes up, and so you switch to something else. But what if it's water? And the price going up only works for that half of the world that is living on more than $2 US a day. But for that other half of the world, it's disaster. Now, there are many different definitions. The one I think that I love the most is one from an African elder in Johannesburg in 2002. He said, "It's enough for all, forever." And the beautiful discussions you can have with youth and grandparents. What is enough? Education, public awareness, and training will be central to it all. At Rio, there were 40 different issues that were identified, and of the 40, one of them was education, public awareness, and training. That was in 92. By 96, 4 years later, 4 issues were singled out as 4 really crucial issues. And one of the 4 was education, public awareness, and training. And of those 4, only one has a UN decade from 2005 to 2014 devoted strictly to it. That's education, public awareness, and training. The reduction of fishing. This next map is from the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment. In the year 2000, 1,800 scientists from 180 of the world's 200 countries. In a moment, I'll start this up, and you see down in this corner, it says 1951. This, if it works, should start turning, and it'll be 52, 53. And then suddenly, I think it's over in here, you'll see a little red mark. And that's where the fishing peaked, and the catch started to go down. And yes, there is not a part of the ocean left where the fish stocks are the same as they were in 1950. What does have a great deal, though, is that one about access to quality education. Remember, especially the girl child and what that was doing to population and so on. And the discussion about what is a quality education. Of these 4 thrusts, remember the first, public awareness, second is access to quality education. The third one, though, is the conundrum that it's our most educated countries that are leaving the deepest ecological footprints on the planet. So the idea of simply taking our current education system that we have and trying to export that to Uganda would be totally wrong. That's what it is now. The whole secondary school program in Uganda is geared towards Cambridge A-level examinations. From 1900 to 2000, everything was how can we develop? How are we ever going to compete with China? How are we ever going to compete with Britain? The whole thing on this competitive development model that we want to question. Maybe we will reaffirm it. So what does that mean to educators? So we need to question really is the purpose of education? We'll go back to the fundamentals. Now, in 1996, the UNESCO asked Jacques Delors to head up a commission of 16 eminent educators and politicians who came from different walks of life, didn't just turn it over to professors, and asked, what is the purpose of education? And it came back, it's a beautiful book, it's called Learning the Treasure Within, and it talked about to know, to do, to be able to do something, to become all you can. And fourthly, to live together. And we'd like to see that changed and expanded, that last one. Question. Now, there are many sort of initial interventions that are already going on. Most school systems are certainly doing some curriculum modification. A lot are doing energy, water, waste management because there's an awful lot of funding available out of that. Many of them have social programs, and many of them are changing the school site, putting in school gardens, and so, you know, those kinds of things. Those are some of the early ones. We also have many of the components that we can build upon. We can keep going, but we need to be thinking also, if 90% of the school population is in developing countries, then that means that 90% of all the new jobs in the world should be in developing countries. It's a different way of thinking. And in particular, looking at the world of work. In Uganda, the average age in Uganda is 14.5 years. Yes, under 15 years of age is the average age in Uganda. There are young children everywhere. Now, they have high unemployment now, but if you just do the math, 40 million people, average age of 15, roughly 1.2 million young people leave school every year. They need to be generating 1.2 million new jobs per year. The school system is geared to Cambridge A levels. So the change that we will be working on with government leaders in Uganda is really, really exciting as part of this network. No, what we need is a comprehensive whole school system approach, which means a whole faculty of education or school approach. And the idea that no single discipline, no one person, no one anything can do it all. But every person, every discipline has a strength right now, if you understand what the problem is, that you can be bringing to it and be thinking about it. But we do need some people who look at the big picture, who bring things together. We have, as I say, 60 countries now where people in networks of faculties of education around the world are struggling and working with it. In Jamaica, the big issue is young male violence. And so the English language teachers there have introduced the authors, Caribbean authors in both prose and poetry, with a lot of violence in their work, so they can start talking about it with their students. And it boils down to this. The violence in their life comes from the fact that the economy is so flat, there's no part-time work for young males. They can't get money for dating. So the only way they can get money legally is from begging from their moms, usually single mothers who are working 4 part-time jobs. Well, she's not that keen on passing on the money, right? So the other way is illegally. So the idea of discussing this and getting it open in classrooms and so on, you know, shows the ingenuity. In other countries, it's many different ways of dealing with it. But around the world, we have many, many handprints. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to be with you today, especially on such an important day as this, Froukje. And thank you very much. Thank you.